Hello there, my name is Pavel Shtermach and now we'll unveil the top news of recent days. The largest city in the Orenburg region of Russia, Orenburg, also began to flood. Citizens were urged to evacuate immediately. The water level has reached critical levels. At least 5 people died during a flood in the Orenburg region. In 3 days, a dam broke 3 times in Orsk, which, as they wrote on the official website of the mayor's office, was built for more than $10 million in 2014. And according to the chief builder, Russians were to blame for the triple breakthrough. On the third day after the dam broke in Orsk, local residents held a rally at the administration building demanding payments to the victims. Residents of one of the districts, however, write that local authorities have forgotten about them and do not react to them in any way. That's why people chanted, "Putin, help us!" But Vladimir Putin is not helping them. But then the Minister of Emergency Situations, Kurenkov, flew to Orenburg, apparently to again help local residents by telling them that the Ministry of Emergency Situations warned everyone about the flood a long time ago. It was a warning, but who will help people? The prosecutor's office of the Orenburg region warned residents of Orsk about the illegality of their rallies. The police first tried to disperse the protests. However, people remained in the square, deciding to demand increased payments for property and punishment for those responsible for the destruction of the dam. So far, the authorities have promised a little more than 1,000 rubles per person for complete loss of property and $500 for partial loss. Well, yes, it's not like launching missiles at Ukraine. For example, the cost of missiles fired by Russia at Ukraine during the massive attack on March 21st is $390 million. But people continue to support the Kremlin's policies, 87% for Putin in the last elections. Now it is the residents who are blamed for all the troubles because the evacuation was announced a week ago. People didn't make decisions, or they thought it was some kind of joke, said Kurenkov, Minister of Emergency Situations of Russia. But a few days before the flood, Mayor of Orsk, Kazupitsa, wrote that people have no fears that they could be flooded. We remembered at the times when Orsk experienced floods in the absence of a dam, and the flood drowned houses of Naberezhnaya Street. Now there is no such threat. Meanwhile, it is not only the Orenburg region that is suffering. Previously, large-scale floods occurred in the Altai territory, Novosibirsk, Kemerovo, and Tomsk regions. On April 7th, Vladimir Putin instructed governors to prepare the population for possible evacuation due to floods. But people don't go because they have to protect their homes from looters on their own. What happened and is happening now in the occupied territories of Ukraine has returned to Russia. Who would have thought about it? But let's be honest, the cause of the disaster is Russian lack of independence and lack of sovereignty. The authorities of the Russian Federation cannot provide a normal life for its citizens. The country is in the throes of a permanent crisis. The Putin regime has directed all its resources to the war against Ukraine, and now everything in Russia is falling apart, going wrong and breaking down. The safety of Russians has never been and is not a priority for the Kremlin. Never before the Kremlin can once again joke about the Ukrainian trace in the Orenburg region, as it is due to the emergence of internal crisis in the territory of the Russian Federation itself. More than 36 million tons of cargo have been exported through the Ukrainian Sea Corridor since August 2023. This is higher than the indicators of the Grain Initiative for the year of its existence. 1,286 ships have already passed through the Ukrainian corridor, exporting 25 million tons of agricultural products to the countries of Asia, Africa and Europe. Currently, 135 vessels are waiting to approach the ports of Odessa, Chornomorsk and Pivdenny. On the eve of the record, 195.7 thousand tons on one ship were exported from the port Pivdenny, the southern one. Captain Leonidas, under the flag of Panama, became the largest ship among all that entered Ukrainian ports after the start of the full-scale invasion. Its dead weight is more than 203,000 tons. Ukraine managed to organize and secure its own corridor on the Black Sea despite the fact that immediately after withdrawing from the grain deal, the Russian Federation began to target Ukraine's port infrastructure and agricultural facilities. Today, for example, it was Odessa that became the target of Russian strikes. The enemy was stationed for an attack on Odessa and the region. 3 ballistic missiles Iskander-M, 2 missiles Iskander-K, 1 anti-ship missile Ha-35, 2 aircraft missiles Ha-59. They were shot down by our air defense missiles. And 17 Shahed drones in Odessa and Mykolaiv regions. Moreover, Moscow is limiting our imports with blows to the port infrastructure. The Kremlin has described a number of areas in the Black Sea as temporarily dangerous for shipping and said that all ships heading to Ukrainian ports will be considered those that could potentially carry military cargo. Among the threats to the Ukrainian corridor are also mines. More than 50 sea mines were washed up on the coast of Romania alone in these 2 years. In general, there have already been many dozens of cases of mines being thrown onto the coasts of Ukraine and other countries. The recently created mine-sweeping group, with the participation of Turkey, Romania and Bulgaria, should help solve this problem.
We jointly decided to sign a protocol between 3 countries in order to fight more effectively against the mine danger in the Black Sea by improving our existing close cooperation and coordination. Hesar Güler, Minister of National Defense of Turkey.
2 vessels were damaged during the operation of the Sea Corridor. During the period of operation of the Ukrainian Sea Corridor, 2 ships were damaged as a result of military operations. In early November 2023, a Russian missile hit a civilian ship during its stay at the port of the Odessa region. Then the crew member died and several other people were injured. And on December 27, 2023, the Panama-flagged ship Vaisos hit a sea mine while heading to the port of Ismail to load. From the point of view of international law, such actions are a violation of the Geneva Conventions of 1949. German fighter jets intercepted a Russian plane flying over the Baltic Sea without an on-board radar device to identify and track the vehicle. Fighters took off from the Latvian city of Leeuwarden. Newsweek quoted the German Air Force. The Russian Il-20 reconnaissance plane was flying through international airspace, and the NATO plane accompanied it for some time. In late February, the French military also said its fighter jets had intercepted Russian jets off the coast of Estonia. Russian military planes have long failed to transmit a transponder code indicating their position and altitude, file a flight plan, or communicate with air traffic controllers. Last year, according to NATO information, the alliance's air forces across Europe flew over 300 times to intercept Russian warplanes approaching the alliance's airspace. Most of the interceptions took place over the Baltic Sea. NATO said earlier that it had strengthened the air defenses on the eastern flank in view of Russia's war against Ukraine, increasing the number of fighter jets and reconnaissance flights, and expanding its ground-based air defense network. Berlin will deploy 2 combat troop battalions from the German states of Bavaria and North Rhine-Westphalia to form the core of the new Lithuania Brigade. The new military base in Lithuania is intended to deter Russia from further attacking its neighbors after the invasion of Ukraine.
Our decision to deploy the brigade permanently to the NATO eastern flank is unprecedented. We take both responsibility and leadership in NATO. We will go ahead with this project of the brigade together with our Lithuanian friends as partners in leadership. We are showing our Lithuanian partners and our allies that we are on their side, that they can be dependent on us, and I am happy about your words regarding this, that we will defend the freedom and security of our allies and friends on the NATO eastern flank. We support NATO's promise of one for all and all for one with concrete action.
Lithuania has a border with the Russian Baltic Sea exclave of Kaliningrad and Moscow's close ally Belarus. The German army or Bundeswehr said this makes Lithuania the most exposed state on NATO's eastern flank. Western military analysts in the West have long viewed the Suwałki Gap, the part of Lithuania's territory line between the two, as a potential flashpoint area in any standoff between Russia and NATO. The aim is to station 4,800 troops and around 200 civilians permanently in Lithuania in coordination with NATO. The first group of German soldiers arrived in Lithuania on Monday as part of a new brigade that will be permanently stationed on NATO's eastern flank. The advanced team of about 20 staff will begin setting up the base. The brigade, to be named Panzer Brigade 45, will be fully operational by 2027. Responding to the deployment, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said that German military presence in Lithuania would escalate tensions. German soldiers deployed to Lithuania prompt Russian warning. At the same time, Deputy Secretary General of NATO Mircea Ioane believes that it is worth being prepared for the intensification of Russian cyber attacks and disinformation campaigns in an attempt to influence European elections and ensure better results for political forces more favorable to Moscow. Ioane suggested, look at what's happening in Moldova to understand what Russian influence attempts might look like, and noted that Russian disinformation and cyber attacks should be expected in attempts to influence European elections. At the same time, he said that Russia and others will try to help those forces that are not necessarily pro-Russian but anti-Western. We will remind you that the European Commission called on large online platforms to take measures before the elections to the European Parliament in order to counteract the spread of false information and the coordinated work of bot networks. That concludes our today's video. Thank you for watching. Stay updated, comment, like and subscribe to our UATV English channel for more news from Ukraine. Your support is it really matters for us. Goodbye.